Welcome back everybody to the French Cooking Academy. Today we're not doing any real cooking as such because we're gonna be talking about the aperitif culture in France. Okay, so one of the things I missed in France or from France is the fact of having this aperitif session before a meal. The aperitif in France is basically when it's come to 7 o'clock, you get over your friends, you open a light bottle of wine. Some people would have a beer, cherry, a port, or any kind of liqueurs, and you have some kind of little homemade dips on the table that you're going to eat with toasted bread or perhaps some crudité. So today we're going to see the two classic dips you should know. Okay, from the south of France, number one, the Anchoiade, which is the anchovy dip, and lots of olive oil, lots of garlic, and of course lots of anchovies, so very tasty. Number two, the Tapenade, which is an olive-based kind of dip, also with lots of aromatic and even a little bit of cognac, so very interesting. For the making of the recipe, it's very straightforward, doesn't take too much time. And I'm going to show you two ways. For the first one, the Anchoiade, we're going to be using the classic pestle and mortar. I think it's called like that. Huh? Some people really love to see this on the video all the time. And for the tapenade, we're going to be using the food processor because it really makes your life way easier. So if you're ready to learn about the French aperitif, well, let's get to your pans and let's go. Let's start our journey on making dips with the Anchoiade or Anchoiade, depending on where we are in France. It's pronounced differently. It's maybe my accent from Paris that does this. But these are the ingredients we're going to need. So for the ingredients, as always, check the video description for each of the dips. For the mise en place, food preparation, as you can see, there's not much. Anchovies fillet, tablespoon of vinegar. I've got some olive oil. This is a mix of garlic and shallots. And this is a mix of parsley and a tiny little bit of basil, fresh. I like to work with fresh ingredients. So first, prepare all that, and then we're going to be using our pestle and mortar and start the dip. And now let's do this. So we've got our pestle and mortar. I'm using one that's got a coarse finish inside. I know in the shop you can buy the one that's got this very polished kind of stone. I don't really like it. You need a bit of an abrasive surface with the pestle and mortar. And same for this. You see, that part has been totally polished, and as you can see, you see the difference? That's what it should be like when you buy it in a shop. Not just all like that, that's more for decoration only. Okay, so something that you're going to be really using is to have an end like this that's coarse, as well as the bowl being coarse. Okay, and when you're there, basically, it's just a matter of adding all of the ingredients. Up. So we're going to put this, we're going to add a little parsley and basil, and I'm just going to add a little bit of vinegar in there. There's no real order for all of the things, and when you hear it's just a grinding process. So you don't tap like this with pestle and mortar. You usually kind of grind by doing a bit of a circular motion like this, and bringing everything back to the middle. And you keep on doing that grind. Now, when you work with a pestle and mortar, it's not a bad idea to have a little rubber spatula like this, and that you can use to kind of gather all of these bits and put them back into the middle like that. And then we're going to add other ingredients, which is the anchovy fillets in oil. Don't buy the one that are in salt, because that's going to be way too salty. And same thing here. When you got the anchovies in, you can pound them like this, and very slowly kind of grind them. Now, anchovies, they're very good because they can really be reduced to a pulp very easily, actually. They're very fragile. So the pestle and mortar for that technique here is very handy. So same thing here. You keep grinding until you get a nice anchovy paste there. So don't be shy to really grind these and give it a nice, it has to become a nice paste of anchovies. Once again, little spatula here. You can get what goes on the edge. And what you get is the aromatic base of your Anchoiade. So as you can see, this is the texture. It's not a soup or anything like that. It's that kind of thick consistency. And like a mayonnaise, what you need to do from here is basically to thicken the sauce or add some liquid, which is going to be olive oil. Okay? And that again is done with the pestle and mortar. So what we're going to do is simply, little bit by little bit, you're going to add some olive oil and gently, and you don't go as fast like look at it before. You're gonna start to mix and incorporate the olive oil. Now what you're gonna see that's gonna happen when you do that is that suddenly the mix is gonna become very coherent. It's gonna make one kind of paste like this. And you want to add as much as your oil as you want really. It's up to like 100 milliliters, 10 centiliters, but it's up to you. We want a consistency that is a little bit thick, but you want to keep that kind of paste-like aspect. Remember that this is a dip. You're gonna have to spray this on toasted bread or use it with crudité, so it needs to hold. So that's it. Now, you can do this with the food processor as well, and you will see that with the food processor, you will really have the anchovies and everything really grinded to a very small mix. With the pestle and mortar, this is the kind of size you're gonna achieve. So you still have that paste-like consistency, but you got a nice shine of olive oil in there. And that's it, basically that dip is ready. And so while we're preparing the tapenade, I'm gonna keep this a little bit in the fridge, or you can transfer it to another container. And the best is to let it infuse, at least 10-15 minutes to really release the flavor, but you can keep it in the fridge for longer if you have guests, it's fine. But now let's move on to the next dip, which is the tapenade. Let's now move on to our second dip from the south of France, the famous tapenade. Again, the ingredients will be listed in the video description, and this is all what we're going to be using. And this is the mise en place. Make sure you use olives, the black olives that are without the stones, or pitted olives. I got some capers, a little bit of garlic, anchovies, a strong French mustard, Dijon style, a tablespoon of cognac, which is very interesting, of course, olive oil, and there's an addition of black pepper that I've got on the side. For the utensils, of course, the food processor. I'm using a mini food processor, but if you have a larger one, it's fine. I'm making also a small quantity here, guys. So that's just to show you, but you can use the quantities I've given you and multiply them by whatever amount you want to make. Now, the tapenade, as I mentioned earlier, has to be done with a food processor. You could do it really if you want it with a pestle and mortar, but that will take a long time because you really need to have these olives really grinded to a fine paste. So food processor, what you're gonna do, start with all the olives and the anchovies, as well as the capers. So basically you can put all of the ingredients. Usually you try to do the dry ingredients first. You put everything in there. And it's very simple. Once in here, you're gonna take your food processor and blitz this to a fine little grind or paste. That's it. Let's start this. Now, when you first do the blitz, you have to do a little blitz like this. You want to get a nice fine grind. And then you're gonna add the liquid because we need some liquid to make sure it's gonna be keep on churning and churning. So once we're here, you got this thing in, just gonna add our mustard, the cognac, and of course some olive oil. Okay, and same thing here, back to the blender, and we go. Now after a minute of blending this, you're gonna get a nice paste. From here, it is up to you to kind of adjust the seasoning. You could add a little bit of salt if you want, a little bit of pepper, oil, and you can also adjust the consistency by adding more olives, for instance. And there is no real, right or wrong with the tapenade. You have to make sure that it's something not too strong because olive can be strong. Now talking about olives, very important. The type of olive. Usually we use these French olives. What I recommend is to use these black olives that are just in the jar and that are pretty plain. They're not marinated or anything like this. If you want something really plain, you can start off. For me, I've used some marinated olive because I know what I want, the taste I want. But in a nutshell, this is the paste. So when you adjust your seasoning, same thing, a last blitz, and you can leave this to churn like this for another 1 or 2 minutes. There's really no problem of having this really fine. And here we are. The two dips have been done. You see how easy it was. And the Anchoiade, and this is the tapenade. Both of these are very special It's not for the faint-hearted. This is a concentrate of anchovies, really, with garlic and olive oil, and this is a concentrate of black olives. So we're navigating into the extremes here. In the Provence, people like really strong flavor, and I've put the pestle and mortar. Now, of course, you would like to serve this in an environment where you got the sun, the Mediterranean, the blue sky, you know, the rolling waves nearby, you know, next to a little harbor in the south of France. But yeah, in a garden it would do. If it's sunny, just put this on the terrace, you know, it's already something. But nothing but what are we gonna eat with this? You can serve it with crudité, but this here is what you need. So I'm gonna slice some baguette here and put it under the broiler, make some nice little toast, and then we're gonna do a bit of a tasting and to see what are these all about. And here we are. So as you can see, I've toasted some bread, and this is the bread I've just sliced, and now it is time to taste. So I'm going to taste this and tell you live what I think. So the first thing I would say is that these are both concentrated. So in terms of quantities, I will use a little bit to try. So I'm just going to have a little hint. So this is the Anchoiade anchovy spread. Let's try that out. Oh, that's all right. I think I was expecting much more anchovies. It is strong, of course. Don't get me wrong, it is an anchovy paste. But you can feel the herbs and the garlic in the background. So that's not too bad. And let's try the second one. I'll take a new toast, or maybe let me use the other end of my toast. Okay, little piece of toast. Second try, take a different spoon. This is the tapenade, the black olive spread. Wow, you know what? It's growing on me, these things. Yeah, really. With the bread, it's good. Even when you mix them up, it's the key. Really mix them a little bit at a time. It's one of these things that can really grow on you. You need a glass of white wine. That would be perfect. But that's it, guys. We've made how to dips. Well, now what an adventure today with the trying out of these little dips, and it's a shame that really there's not enough people that know about these things. Really, they take really 10 minutes to make, and they're really, really special. So I would say, you know, if you have the time, give them a try and tell me what you think in the comment section, as always, on Instagram. And you can play around with adding some more herbs, more fresh herbs, more spices, more mustards, different types of olives, etc., etc. It is up to you. Go and explore these beautiful French dips. It's a wonderful thing. But as for me, I'll leave you with this picture on the screen. I'll see you all next time for another French cooking recipe. Take care all. Bye bye.